The storm over the alien moon had finally gone silent. Dust floated like ghosts in the weak light of the shattered sun. Between the broken rocks, a human soldier named Eric Vale walked alone, his breathing loud inside his cracked helmet. He was wounded, lost, and low on oxygen. His ship had crashed 3 days ago. No rescue. No signal. Just silence. But that night, he heard something new. A sound soft as crying. He turned his flashlight toward the canyon. There, half buried under ash and crystal dust, lay a girl, pale skin that shimmered like frost, long silver hair tangled with blood. Her eyes were glowing red, faint like dying coals. When she saw the light, she hissed weakly and tried to crawl away. Eric froze. He knew what she was. A firstborn. A vampire alien, one of the species that once hunted human blood across the colonies. Every soldier was warned, if you see one, shoot or run. But she wasn't attacking. She was shaking. Her lips were cracked. Her skin dry and gray. She looked less like a predator, more like a dying girl. He stepped closer. "Can you hear me?" he asked. No answer. Just a whisper between her breaths. "Water." He looked at the broken sky. No water anywhere. His own canteen was almost empty. Still, he knelt and touched her shoulder. Her skin was cold like metal. When he lifted her face, she flinched. Her fangs showed, small, sharp, and trembling. "You're dying," he said quietly. Her voice cracked. "Leave, before I lose control." Eric didn't move. "You'll die first," he said softly. For a long moment, they just stared at each other, the human and the vampire alien, two enemies left behind by their own wars. Then her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed completely. He caught her before she hit the ground. Her body was light as paper. Her heart, almost silent. He carried her to the wreckage of his pod and laid her near the emergency heater. Her breathing slowed, shallow. Her mouth moved, whispering words in her own language, sad, broken sounds like prayer. Eric looked at his wrist scanner. Her pulse was almost gone. Blood loss, dehydration, and oxygen starvation. She had minutes left. He stared at his canteen. 1 drop of water. And then he remembered what the firstborn needed to live. Not water. Blood. His heart started to race. He had seen videos, how fast they changed when they drank. The hunger, the loss of control. But this one, this girl, looked more like a child trying to survive than a monster. She opened her eyes again. "Why are you helping?" she whispered. He hesitated. "Because no one helped me when I crashed." Her gaze fell to his neck. Her voice shook. "You know what I need." "I know." Silence. The only sound was the soft hum of the heater. Then Eric did something no human had done in 100 years. He unsealed his collar and pulled it aside, exposing the side of his neck. Her eyes widened in shock. "You would." "I'm already dying out here," he said. "At least one of us should live." She shook her head, trembling. "I'll kill you." He smiled weakly. "Then make it quick." For a second, she looked terrified. Then she crawled forward, her lips brushing his skin. He felt her fangs graze his neck, but she stopped, trembling violently. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I can't." "Yes, you can," he whispered. Her breath was cold against his throat. Then, finally, pain, sharp and deep. He gasped, gripping the metal floor, but didn't push her away. Warmth drained from his body as she drank, slow at first, then faster. Her color returned. The glow in her eyes brightened like fire. Her body stopped shaking. For the first time, she looked alive. Eric's vision blurred. He could barely hear her voice. "Enough, stop me, please." But his strength was gone. She tore herself away, gasping. Blood dripped from her lips. Her eyes were wide, horror and confusion mixing inside them. He slumped back, pale and weak, but smiling faintly. "You're okay now," he whispered. She stared at him, trembling. "Why would a human save me?" "Because monsters don't cry," he murmured. Her eyes filled again with tears. She touched his face gently, her hand shaking. "You gave me life." He tried to speak, but his voice was fading. "Just promise me one thing." What? Don't waste it. He closed his eyes. Outside, the shattered moon cracked again with distant thunder. The alien girl sat beside him, holding his hand with trembling fingers, her heart pounding for the first time in days. She whispered something in her own tongue, an ancient word that meant thank you. Then she looked up at the dark horizon. Her fangs still wet with his blood. Her eyes burning with something new. Guilt. And the stars above them flickered, as if watching what no one was meant to see. To be continued. Eric didn't remember how long he slept. The world came back in flashes, shadows moving above him, a soft hum, and something cold pressing against his lips. When he opened his eyes, he saw her again, the alien girl, alive now, her silver hair glowing faint blue in the dim heater light. She was holding a metal flask, her hands trembling. "Drink," she said. He blinked. "You found water?" She looked away. "Not water. Synth fluid from your pod. It restores plasma. You lost too much." He tried to sit up, but his body refused. His neck ached where she had bitten him. When he touched it, he felt 2 small scars, already closed. "You healed me," he murmured. She nodded slowly. "I sealed the wound. You would have died if I didn't." Eric smiled weakly. "So, we saved each other." The alien girl didn't answer. Her eyes looked far away, lost in guilt. "I almost killed you." "But you didn't." Her lips pressed together, trembling. "You don't understand. Firstborn don't stop once they taste blood. We lose control." She looked down at her hands as if they disgusted her. "But when I fed on you, something felt different. It was like your blood burned through my hunger instead of feeding it." Eric studied her. "Maybe human blood isn't like others." "Or maybe," she whispered, "you're not like others." Outside, lightning cracked over the grey dunes. The crash site was surrounded by ash storms. The oxygen levels were falling fast. Eric's suit alarm blinked red. He didn't have long before the system collapsed. He tried to stand again. "We need to find a signal beacon." "You can't move," she said firmly. "You've lost half your blood." "I'm not waiting to die in a hole," he said, forcing himself up. His knees buckled. She caught him easily, her strength returning. Her fingers felt warm now, alive. For a brief second, their eyes met. He felt something strange, a pulse of warmth between them, like the moment right before sunrise. She turned away quickly. "You humans, always rushing toward death." He smirked. "And you firstborn, always running from it." Her expression softened, almost a smile. Hours passed as they walked through the broken valley. The ground was littered with the remains of war, metal skeletons, half-buried weapons, bones that weren't entirely human. The silence was thick, filled only by the distant wind. Eric stumbled often. Each time, she slowed her pace to match him. Once, when he fell hard against a rock, she grabbed his arm and whispered, "Stop pretending you're fine." He laughed weakly. "Humans pretend. It's what we do." She tilted her head. "Why?" "Because if we admit we're afraid," he said, "we break." She didn't reply. But after that, she stayed closer. When night came, they found shelter inside a wrecked satellite dome. The stars above shimmered through the cracked glass roof. Eric sat down, exhausted. The alien girl sat across from him, silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "I owe you a life." "You don't owe me anything," he said. Her eyes glowed faint red again. "Among my kind, a blood debt is sacred. You saved me. That bond can't be undone until I repay it." He looked at her carefully. "And how will you repay it?" She hesitated. "By protecting you, even if it means killing my own." Eric didn't speak for a while. The thought of her turning against her people because of him, it didn't sit right. "You don't have to fight anyone for me," he said softly. She shook her head. "It's not a choice. The moment I drank your blood, a connection formed. I feel your heartbeat, even now." Eric's heart skipped. "You what?" Her voice lowered. "If your heart stops, I'll know." They sat in silence again. The stars moved slowly across the cracked dome. The war outside their world felt far away now. After some time, she looked at him again. "Why did you do it?" He frowned. "Do what?" "Offer your blood. You didn't even know me." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I was tired of watching people die for nothing. Maybe I just wanted to believe someone could still be saved." Her red eyes softened. "Humans are strange." "We get that a lot," he replied. As the night deepened, she moved closer to him. "Your body temperature is dropping. You'll freeze." Before he could answer, she wrapped part of her metallic cloak around him. Her warmth seeped through the fabric, steady and calm. He looked at her, surprised. "You're warm now." Her lips curved faintly. "Because of you." He didn't know what to say. He wanted to ask her name, but exhaustion took him first. His eyes closed. The alien girl watched him in silence. Her fangs glowed faintly in the dark. She touched her wrist where his dried blood still marked her skin. The warmth inside her chest was something her kind had no word for. She whispered softly in her own tongue, "I will protect you, human, until my last drop." Outside, in the distance, something moved, metal footsteps echoing in the dust. Her eyes snapped open. Her voice turned cold again. "They found us." The ground shook before dawn. Eric woke to the sound of engines echoing across the valley. The alien girl, Lyra, as she had finally told him her name, was already on her feet, her eyes glowing faint red. She looked through the cracked dome roof. "They found us," she whispered. "Who?" Eric's voice was rough. "My kind," she said. "Firstborn hunters. They follow the scent of blood." Eric's heart sank. He touched his neck. Even though the wound was healed, he realized the truth. His blood was a signal, a beacon calling death their way. Lyra grabbed his arm. "We have to move. Now." They ran through the gray dunes. Above them, the sky flashed crimson, the color of firstborn ships. Long, black vessels sliced through the clouds like blades, releasing drones that scanned the surface. Lyra's eyes turned sharp. "If they catch us, they'll drain you and execute me for treason." Eric stumbled over rocks. "Treason?" "I drank human blood," she said bitterly. "It's forbidden. To them, I'm already dead." The air roared as a drop pod crashed nearby, scattering fire and dust. From the smoke emerged 3 firstborn hunters, tall, armored, and glowing faintly under their obsidian helmets. Lyra froze. Eric saw fear flicker in her eyes for the first time. "Go," she whispered. "Hide. I'm not leaving you. You'll die if you stay. Then we die together." She stared at him for a heartbeat, disbelief and pain mixing in her face. Then she turned, her fangs glinting as she stepped forward. The hunters spoke in a tongue of echoes, their voices vibrating the air. "Lyra of the fallen bloodline," the leader said. "You broke the code. You fed on a human." She raised her head proudly. "He saved my life." The hunter's armor hissed open slightly, revealing eyes like molten glass. "Then he will pay for your sin." Lyra's voice trembled with rage. "Touch him, and I'll tear your heart out." Eric's pulse quickened. She wasn't bluffing. The hunter laughed, a deep, hollow sound. "You think you can fight us, half-starved traitor?" Her lips curled into a faint smile. "Try me." Then everything exploded. Lyra moved faster than Eric could see. One moment she was standing still, the next, she was a blur of light and silver. The first hunter flew backward, slammed into a rock wall. The second fired a plasma blade, she caught it midair and shattered it like glass. Her eyes burned crimson now, her skin alive with glowing veins. She was terrifying and beautiful all at once, a storm of energy and fury. But 3 more hunters landed behind her. Their weapons charged, humming with deadly power. Eric grabbed a fallen blaster from the ground. "Hey!" he shouted, firing wildly. The shots were weak, but they distracted the enemy long enough for Lyra to grab him and leap into the air. They landed behind a boulder, breathless. "You're insane," she gasped. "Welcome to humanity," he said, smiling weakly. Her lips twitched into something close to a smile, then faded. "You shouldn't have done that. They'll track us again." "Then we keep running." She shook her head. No. Running won't save you. Her eyes glowed brighter, too bright. Eric realized she was preparing for something. What are you doing? He asked. Ending the hunt. Before he could stop her, she rose from behind the rocks and raised her hands. The ground trembled. From her palms, red energy spiraled upward, ancient firstborn magic. The crimson light struck the sky, ripping through the clouds. The hunters screamed as the pulse wave hit them. Their armor cracked, and their ship spun out of control. Eric shielded his eyes. Lyra, stop. You'll burn yourself. She didn't hear him, or couldn't. Her power raged uncontrollably, feeding on her blood and pain. She screamed once, a sound that cut through the storm. Then silence. When the dust cleared, the hunters were gone, burned to ash. Lyra fell to her knees, her body smoking, her eyes dim. Eric ran to her and caught her before she hit the ground. You saved us, he whispered. Her voice was weak. You gave me strength. You can't keep doing this. You'll die. She smiled faintly, her hand brushing his chest. I'd rather die protecting the only human who saw me as more than a monster. Her body trembled in his arms. Your kind kills us, she whispered. But you offered life. Eric held her tighter. We'll find a way out of this. Both of us. She looked up, eyes half closed. Then promise me, Eric Vale, if I lose control again, end it. Don't let me become the thing they fear. He swallowed hard. I promise nothing, because I don't plan to lose you. She smiled, small, tired, and heartbreakingly human. Above them, the sky burned crimson again. Dozens of new ships appeared in orbit. The war had noticed them. The air was heavy with dust and silence after the battle. Eric carried Lyra through the broken dunes, his arms shaking under her weight. Her body was colder than before, too cold. Every few steps, he whispered her name as if the sound alone could keep her alive. They reached the edge of a ruined structure, half buried in ash, its stone walls glowing faintly with alien symbols. It looked ancient, older than both their species. Eric laid her gently on the floor inside. The symbols reacted to her presence, pulsing red. Lyra, he said softly. Stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open, faintly glowing. Where are we? I don't know. Some kind of temple, he said, looking around. Maybe a shelter. She tried to sit up, but her strength failed. This place, it's forbidden to my kind. The temple of the first thirst. What does that mean? It's where our curse began, she whispered. And maybe, where it can end. Eric searched the temple for anything useful. He found ancient machinery, cracked glass tubes, and old containers filled with crystallized blood dust. Strange murals lined the walls, paintings of beings with wings of light feeding from glowing humans. He stared at them. Your people drank from humans, even back then. Lyra nodded weakly. Long ago, before war, humans and firstborn lived together. The blood wasn't taken, it was shared. It gave both races balance. But when greed came, my ancestors took more than was given. The link broke. The universe punished us with eternal thirst. Eric turned back to her, speechless. Then, my blood. It awakened something old, she said. A memory buried in my DNA. She touched her chest, her pulse glowing faint blue. When I drank from you, I didn't just taste life. I felt emotions, fear, hope, kindness. Things my kind forgot long ago. Eric knelt beside her. Maybe that's what makes us human. Lyra looked up at him, her voice trembling. Or maybe that's what makes you dangerous. The ground trembled. The red light on the walls flickered and dimmed. Somewhere outside, engines rumbled again. They are coming, Eric said, reaching for his blaster. No, Lyra whispered. That's not them. It's something else. A deep hum filled the air. The old machines around them came alive, reacting to Lyra's blood. Light beams shot from the walls, forming a holographic figure in the center of the room, a tall being, neither human nor firstborn. Its voice echoed softly. To the one who carries both bloods, the crimson promise must be fulfilled. Eric and Lyra froze. The figure continued, ancient and calm. The balance between life and thirst lies in unity. When a human gives blood freely to a thirstborn, the curse weakens. When a thirstborn protects that human, the curse ends. Lyra's eyes widened. The crimson promise, she whispered. Eric frowned. So, us. The hologram flickered. Together, you are the key. But beware, others will see your bond as blasphemy. The old kings will destroy you to keep the curse alive. Then the figure vanished, leaving only silence and a faint red glow on the floor. Eric turned to her. Did you hear that? If we stay together, we can fix this, maybe save both our kinds. Lyra shook her head. You don't understand. The Thirstborn Empire thrives on the curse. If it ends, they lose their power. They'll kill anyone who tries. He looked at her, determination burning in his eyes. Then let them try. Lyra stared at him, this fragile, stubborn human who had given her blood, warmth, and now, hope. Why do you risk everything for me? She whispered. Because you do the same, he said quietly. She opened her mouth to deny it, but couldn't. Deep inside, something in her heart pulsed, answering him. Outside, thunder cracked again. The crimson ships were drawing closer, their searchlights cutting through the darkness. Eric grabbed his weapon and looked at Lyra. You can barely stand. I'll distract them. She grabbed his wrist, her eyes fierce now. No. This time, we fight together. Her fangs gleamed faintly, but her voice carried something new, conviction. I won't let them take you. He nodded slowly. Then we make our stand here. Lyra rose, her energy returning. The temple symbols lit up again as if recognizing their shared resolve. She took his hand for the first time, cool skin against warm, and whispered, Our bond is the crimson promise. Don't break it, no matter what happens. He squeezed her hand. Never! Above them, the sky turned red. Dozens of enemy dropships descended. The temple lights grew brighter, feeding off their heartbeat. And as the first beam of enemy fire struck the ground, the ancient structure awakened, roaring like something alive. The temple did not crumble when the first blast hit. It breathed. The walls pulsed red, alive with veins of light, and the floor beneath Eric's boots trembled like the heartbeat of something ancient and waiting. Dust rained from the ceiling as more explosions struck outside, shaking the valley. Lyra stood at the center of the glowing floor, her silver hair floating weightlessly in the charge-filled air. The alien symbols on the walls responded to her presence, flaring like fire every time her pulse quickened. Eric shielded his eyes. What's happening? Lyra whispered, the temple recognizes the crimson bond. It's waking up. He turned toward the entrance where faint silhouettes of thirstborn soldiers gathered among the smoke, their weapons raised. Then we better make it fast. The ground split open beneath the center of the room. From the crack, a column of light burst upward, bathing Lyra in its glow. Her feet lifted off the floor as if gravity had forgotten her. Eric reached for her. Lyra! Her voice trembled as she floated higher, the red glow burning around her body. It's reading my blood, and yours. It's merging them. Merging. The temple was built by both our ancestors. It reacts only when blood is shared willingly. Eric watched, amazed, as their blood signatures, the red of hers, the deep gold of his, spiraled together inside the beam. A low, deep sound filled the air, like the roar of a sleeping giant. The runes along the walls rearranged themselves into new patterns, forming words Eric couldn't read. Lyra's voice echoed through the chamber, carried by the energy around her. It says, one heart ends the thirst. One choice breaks the chain. He frowned. What choice? Before she could answer, the temple doors shattered. Thirstborn soldiers flooded in, their armor black as void. Plasma rifles hummed, targeting the light column. Stand down, one shouted. Step away from the human, Lyra of the fallen bloodline. Lyra landed softly, her eyes now glowing bright crimson. I can't. Then you die with him. The soldiers opened fire. But before a single shot could land, the temple reacted. A crimson shockwave rippled outward from Lyra's body, bending the air itself. Every blast dissolved midair, turning into glowing dust. Eric stared, wide-eyed. "You're controlling it." Lyra shook her head, terrified. "No. It's controlling me." The temple's light intensified. Eric felt a heat deep in his chest, as if something inside him was responding too. His veins glowed faint gold beneath his skin. He staggered forward, holding his heart. "Lyra, it's doing something to me." She reached for him, her hand trembling. "It's the bond. It's trying to complete the cycle. It wants full unity, human and firstborn as one." The soldiers screamed as their weapons melted in their hands. The ground opened beneath them, swallowing several into the abyss. Eric's vision blurred. He saw flashes, ancient memories not his own. Humans walking beside firstborn, sharing light, sharing blood, sharing peace. Then flames. War. Betrayal. The promise broken. He gasped, falling to his knees. "I saw them, our ancestors. They tried this before." Lyra knelt beside him. "And they failed. But maybe we can finish it." A new voice filled the temple. Not human. Not alien. Deeper. Older. The crimson promise was sealed with trust, and broken with fear. Two hearts must choose again. Lyra looked up at the glowing ceiling. "Two hearts." The voice echoed. "One must give life. One must give forgiveness." She turned to Eric, her face pale. "It wants a sacrifice." He shook his head. "No. We've lost enough." "Eric," she whispered, tears glimmering in her red eyes. "You already gave me your blood. Let me give something back." She stood slowly, walking into the light column again. Energy swirled around her like a storm. He staggered toward her. "Don't. You'll burn yourself alive." She smiled softly. "Maybe the universe needs one last drop to heal." He grabbed her hand, his eyes fierce. "Then it takes both of us." For a heartbeat, they stared at each other, enemy, savior, something more. The light flared around them, merging their shadows into one. Outside, the thirstborn ships began to fall from the sky, their engines failing as if drained of life. The air turned calm, the red clouds parting to reveal a pure white horizon. Inside the temple, the light dimmed. Eric lay on the floor, barely breathing. Lyra knelt beside him, weak but alive. "Did it work?" he whispered. She looked around. The runes on the walls now glowed soft gold instead of blood red. The endless hum of hunger she had always felt in her veins was gone. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes. The curse is broken." Eric smiled faintly. "Told you we'd fix it." Lyra touched his cheek gently. "You're fading." "Worth it," he murmured. "Just promise me one thing." "What?" "Keep them from repeating it. Teach them what we forgot." Lyra nodded, crying silently. "I swear it, Eric Vale. Your blood will not be forgotten." The temple lights pulsed once more, softer now, like the beat of a new heart. Outside, the first dawn in centuries rose over the thirstborn world, painting the sky gold. And deep within the temple, Lyra whispered into the still air. "The human kept his promise. Now I'll keep mine." The first sunrise over the thirstborn world in 1,000 years bled through the temple ruins. The crimson hue that once poisoned the sky had turned gold. Lyra stood at the broken gate, her silver hair whipping in the wind. Her eyes, no longer burning red, glowed a gentle amber now. She could feel it. The curse was gone. The endless thirst that had haunted her kind since the beginning had fallen silent inside her veins. But peace did not come with it. Behind her, on the cold floor, lay Eric Vale, unmoving, pale as moonlight. His heartbeat was faint, like the last flicker of a dying star. Lyra knelt beside him, her trembling hand pressed against his chest. "Wake up," she whispered. "You promised me more sunsets." No answer. She leaned closer, desperate. "Please, human. I can't finish this without you." Then she did what her kind had sworn never to do again. She bit her wrist, pressed it to his lips, and let her own blood flow into him. "Drink, Eric," she whispered. "You gave me life once. Let me give it back." For a moment, Nothing happened. Then, his body jerked. His eyes opened, gasping for air. Lyra? She smiled through tears. Welcome back, human. He blinked, dazed. Did we win? Her gaze turned toward the horizon where the enemy ships hung lifeless in the sky. No one wins wars like this, she said softly. But, maybe we ended one. Later, when the light had settled and the dust cooled, shapes appeared beyond the dunes, firstborn soldiers, hesitant and armed, watching the temple from a distance. They weren't attacking. They were afraid. One of them, an elder with black armor cracked by age, stepped forward. His voice echoed across the ruins. Lyra of the fallen bloodline. What have you done? She stood tall, her voice calm but commanding. I kept the crimson promise. The elder's eyes glowed faintly red. Blasphemy! You broke our laws. You consorted with a human. Eric struggled to his feet, still weak but standing beside her. She saved you, he said. All of you. Your skies were dying, your people starving. She ended the curse. The elder snarled. At what cost? You've infected her with human blood. Lyra stepped forward, her voice cutting through the wind. Not infected. Completed. The soldiers murmured among themselves. Some lowered their weapons. Others simply stared, uncertain, afraid of what they saw before them. Lyra raised her hand. Golden veins pulsed under her skin, half human, half thirstborn light. The thirst is gone. I feel it. No hunger, no rage, no need for blood. The war ended the moment he gave his life for mine. Eric looked at her, stunned. You're proof they can change. The elder took a slow step back. You speak of peace, but your bond defies our nature. Lyra's eyes softened. Then maybe our nature was the real curse. A gust of wind swept through the temple ruins. The red banners of the Thirstborn Empire, long symbols of fear, tore and drifted into the sunlight like ash. Eric stood weakly beside Lyra. They'll never accept you, will they? She looked at him, smiling faintly. Then I'll teach them. Even if it takes forever. He chuckled. You sound human. She touched his face gently. And you sound tired. He grinned. Guess we're both changing. As the soldiers retreated to spread word of what they'd seen, Lyra turned back toward the temple. Its walls were glowing faint gold, the symbols shifting again, no longer warnings, but songs. The temple's still alive, Eric said softly. It's rewriting history, she murmured. Replacing war with memory. They watched together as the runes formed a final message across the archway. Two hearts kept the promise. The curse ends where kindness begins. Lyra read it aloud, her voice trembling. Kindness, that's the word your people use, isn't it? Eric nodded. It's what makes us human. She turned to him, eyes bright with something more than light. Then maybe it's time my people learned it. That night, they made camp beside the ruins. Lyra stared at the stars, now shining clean and white for the first time. Do you ever wonder, she asked softly, why you offered your blood that night? Eric smiled, tired but peaceful. I didn't think. I just saw someone dying and I couldn't walk away. She looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. And I couldn't stop myself from drinking. But now, I realize, that moment wasn't about thirst. It was about trust. He reached over and took her hand, warm against his. Then keep trusting, Lyra. Even when the universe forgets how. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You humans never stop giving. And you Thirstborn, he said, smiling faintly, never stop learning. Far beyond the temple, deep within the Empire's capital, alarms echoed through the halls of the High Council. The curse-breaking signal had been detected. Panic spread like wildfire. But in the ashes of that fear, one name began to rise. Lyra of the Crimson Promise. The traitor who became the first true Thirstborn. And beside her, the human who changed the meaning of blood forever. The city of Varith, capital of the Thirstborn Empire, had never known sunlight. For thousands of years, it had lived under a sky of eternal red, until today. As the first true sunrise touched the obsidian towers, their black walls bled into gold. For the first time, the Thirstborn saw shadows shaped not by war, but by light. And at the heart of that light, two figures walked side by side. A human soldier with scars on his neck. A silver-haired vampire alien whose eyes no longer burned red. Eric Vale and Lyra of the Crimson Promise. Every street they passed fell silent. Thirstborn citizens peered from balconies and alleys, terrified, curious, uncertain. Children whispered. Elders bowed. None had seen one of their kind walk in sunlight without pain. Lyra's voice was quiet but firm. They are afraid. Eric smiled faintly. Good. Fear means they are listening. At the base of the high citadel, guards waited in formation. Their armor gleamed black, faces hidden behind mirrored visors. At their center stood the High Chancellor Varen, the last ruler of the Thirstborn Empire. His eyes glowed the old crimson, cold, calculating, untouched by light. Lyra of the fallen bloodline, his voice boomed. You dare step into this city tainted by human blood? Lyra lifted her chin. Not tainted, transformed. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Varen's voice deepened. You have broken every sacred code. Fed on a human. Defied the council. Brought him into our world. She took one step forward. And yet the sun still shines. The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. Blasphemy! Eric spoke then, his tone calm but sharp. No, Chancellor. Truth. Your curse was never a punishment from gods. It was a prison of your own making, built on greed and pride. Varen turned his gaze on the human, disgust curling in his voice. And what are you, creature of flesh and dust? A savior? Eric met his glare. No. Just someone who stopped hating long enough to help. The Chancellor raised his hand. Seize them both. But before his guards could move, a tremor rolled through the ground. The air shimmered with golden light. The ancient temple's mark, the same symbol carved into Lyra's wrist, flared across the sky, visible even from the capital. Lyra raised her arm. The promise still lives. The curse is broken. Every Thirstborn who chooses compassion over hunger will feel it. Look at your soldiers. The Chancellor turned. And froze. One by one, the guards lowered their weapons. Their eyes, once glowing crimson, began to soften, turning amber like hers. Their faces showed confusion, even tears. A young soldier whispered, "The hunger, it's gone." Another dropped his rifle. "I can feel warmth." The Chancellor stepped back, horrified. No, no, this cannot be. Lyra's voice rose, echoing through the courtyard. This is the dawn you feared, Varen. A world where control no longer comes from fear. Where the weak are not food. Where the strong are not gods. Her words rippled through the crowd like wildfire. The people began to chant, not her name, but one word that had never existed in their tongue until now. Hope. Varen's rage erupted. You've poisoned our kind, he roared. You will burn for this. He raised his hand, summoning a spear of crimson energy. The ground cracked beneath him, the air turning red again. Eric moved in front of Lyra. You'll have to go through me. Gladly, the Chancellor hissed. The spear shot forward. Time slowed. Lyra screamed, shoving Eric aside, but the weapon struck her instead. The crimson light pierced her chest. She fell to her knees, gasping, blood glowing gold as it spilled across the floor. Lyra! Eric caught her, holding her close. Her eyes flickered weakly, tears of light sliding down her cheeks. I told you, she whispered, our bond would cost us both. He shook his head fiercely. No. You're not dying here. Not after everything. She smiled faintly. You gave me life, now let me give them future. She pressed her glowing hand to his heart. Energy surged between them, hot, pure, endless. Eric felt her heartbeat blend with his own, her blood flowing through his veins, burning away pain and darkness alike. Her last words were barely a whisper. Live free, human. For both of us. The light burst from her body, washing across the entire city. When the glow faded, Lyra was gone. Only the faint shimmer of gold lingered where she had fallen, dust that sparkled like dawn. The Chancellor lay motionless, stripped of his power. Around him, the Thirstborn looked up at the sun, unblinded for the first time. The hunger that had once defined them was gone forever. Eric stood among them, his eyes faintly gold now, part human, part something more. He whispered into the wind, "You kept your promise, Lyra." Days later, songs filled the city, songs of the human who offered blood and the vampire who found light. The Thirstborn no longer feared the sunrise. Children played beneath it, laughing for the first time in their world's history. And every morning, when the light touched the temple ruins far beyond the horizon, it shimmered like her voice, soft, eternal, alive. The curse ends where kindness begins.